Welcome students to Virtual Reality and Digital Spaces, a special tutorial on vibe coding and sketching in processing, specifically p5.js. So when we think of artists such as, Leonardo da Vinci, for instance, a lot of us probably think of his work, the Mona Lisa, or these finished paintings, or, if you think of Michelangelo, like finished statues. And that's true, but if you think about what Da Vinci actually spent his time doing, this is only a small fraction of where he put his work. Because when you go to paint a finished oil painting, you have to mix up the paint and get your palette out and put this up on an easel. So there's a lot of steps and there's a lot of friction to go do that. So where Da Vinci and most other artists kind of spend their time is they have 100 sketches for every finished piece. And so Da Vinci famously has all of these notebooks where he was going around life and, learning and sketching things that he found curious and stuff that he wanted to use later, or shapes that he found that were very cool. And you see them pop up time and time again. Here's kind of a spiral thing. And then in his other sketches, you'll see this spiral form again. Things are always coming back. And so as an artist, many, many, many artists, most artists, I would say, kind of work with some form of sketching. Now, what is sketching kind of at its root? It's doing things quickly, roughly, kind of in a fast manner, and just getting it in a place where you won't forget it or you can come back to it later, and sort of kind of creating your own artificial memory. So as digital artists, we want to learn how to sketch or create things quickly, just to sort of see it in progress and see it in real form. So we're going to go over how to do that today using a technique called vibe coding, since this is a 2026 and that is pretty popular. All right. So what is vibe coding? Well, according to Rick Rubin, vibe coding is the punk rock of coding. But what does that mean? Well, punk rock, maybe it's a little bit sloppy and fast and rough and raw. It's quick, it's got an edge to it, and we're just moving fast. We're not kind of going back and perfecting everything. So that's what we're going to do today in digital form. Okay. So as a digital artist, or just the way my brain works, at least, and many others, Gustavo is doing this constantly as well. Unlike in Leonardo da Vinci's day, where paper was even expensive and it was hard to get pencils and stuff like that, we have phones and we have, all the digital tools at our disposal. So as I go through life and I see things that interest me, or shapes that I like, or algorithms that look cool, I will, just kind of come across them. And if I like them, then I will take a picture, like a screenshot, or I'll take a picture with my phone, just somewhere where I can keep it around. And if you take my classes, you'll always see that my desktop is covered with photographs because I take screenshots. It's a good skill to have, and it's something that's it's fundamental to what I do, and I really enjoy it. Okay, so this particular algorithm is called the Supershape formula. It might be something that you stumble across, and say you were trying to create a virtual world that had a lot of beautiful organic shapes in it, or buildings that were built by an alien species, for instance, that kind of used organic forms instead of block buildings or something. Well, this algorithm is one of many, many, many that have been discovered. But basically, artists and mathematicians have found certain formulas that create these kind of forms and kind of approximate things that we see in nature, stuff like flowers or nautilus shells, or, so many kinds of organic forms, like certain stone shapes as they form, or, um, stalactites or something, right? Not always, but some of them. And this particular formula just happens to create many of these shapes. And when I was getting started in programming and learning processing way back in the day, this is one of the first algorithms that I ever used and kind of learned to code with. Okay, so quick segue before we get into the algorithm. What do I keep saying when I say processing and p5.js? Well, processing is a coding language, and it was created by two artists named Casey Rees and Ben Fry. And as they say here in the processing foundation, it was originally created to serve as a software sketchbook, right? Sketching, quick artists, quickly working with visual algorithms as artists to teach programming fundamentals within the visual context. So this has grown. It was started in 2001. by these two artists, and one of which is Casey Rees right here. Here's his website. He's got kind of some of the stuff that he's shown around the world. This has become famous, and this has been used by thousands of artists all over the world to do tons and tons of work. Anytime you see a big installation, they could be using something else, but oftentimes you'll find out that they're using processing, or at least, maybe they learned them p5.js and they've kind of branched out. This is used all over the place and is still to this day, 25 years later, 26 years later, it's kind of a fundamental tool in the media programming landscape and media arts landscape in general. What's cool about it as well is that they have created a website, the p5.js website. It's free to access. And when you go here, it's the online version of this language. So you hit start coding. Don't worry, students who have never had any coding experience or artists who don't want to learn how to code, that's what vibe coding is for. And we'll talk about that today. So when you load up the editor, here you see some code on the left and you can hit play. Ta-da, we have a blank canvas, just like a traditional artist, right? It's a boring blank gray canvas. And say we want to change the color. Well, I know how to do that. But right here, you would specify the red, green, and blue values and then hit play. And ta-da, we got red. What if we want to make purple? Well, we would add some blue. Hit play again. Or kind of a magenta tone. Well, maybe we want to make it more of a deep purple. Oh, no, we need more blue. All right, here we go. To make it deeper, we would make them both a little bit less. Okay, so we'll turn down the red as well. Okay, let's see what happens. Boom, more of a purple shade. Okay, so that might not be too impressive, but this is your hello world, hello processing. We're creating shapes on the screen. We're sketching, all right? All right, so let's go back to vibe coding. Vibe code, because it's 2026. So here we go over to ChatGPT, and this is the free version. I'm logged out. This is the one that anyone in the world with access to a computer and the internet can use. And let's see how it does. So this is what vibe coding is. You kind of describe what you want to the machine, and it's going to give you code, and then we're going to see if we can make that actually do something. So, hey, I found the Supershapes formula. Looks great. Please write a p5.js version I can paste into the editor, make it change whenever I click the mouse, make the colors kind of crazy whenever it updates. Punk rock. All right, see what happens. Okay, so ChatGPT, the AI, is going to tell you a little bit about the algorithm, and it's going to spit out code. This is vibe coding, right? So we don't know if it's actually going to work. If we get lucky, it'll work. If we get unlucky, it won't. But let's just see what happens. Punk rock. All right, cool. Copy this, go back into the editor, delete all this stuff, paste it. Let's see if it works. Okay, we got something. We got something. What did we get? All right, well, we got a rotating shape. How close does it look to our shapes that we were going for, the super shapes? A little bit close. I think this is the algorithm. It did it. All right, and true enough, if we click, we get different shapes. The colors are a little bit crazy. Now, this is the other side of vibe coding. So there are multiple ways to go about this, but basically we're using the AI as a bicycle of the mind, right? We're using it to make ourselves go faster, but we get to decide how much we want to use it or not use it. You could do it the old style and go into the documentation and try to learn how to change this, right? Because it's kind of useless if it just generates something. I mean, maybe it's really cool, but we want to make it our own. We want to be empowered artists. Okay, so how do I, for instance, maybe make the lines thicker, right? They're too thin. Okay, so you could read around and just work like a detective, say like, is there anything about line thickness? Do I see anything about thickness? No. Well, stroke weight, the weight of your pen stroke. Maybe that's what it is. I don't know. So let's change that right here, okay? Certainly, it did work. Okay, so I got lucky, right? And what you could do too, that's kind of the manual old person way of doing it. This is traditional coder, because I know what I'm doing. That's how I would do it. I would sort of have the AI get me started if I wanted to, or I would just do it from scratch. And then I would go in and do everything else manually. But that's not the vibe coding way. And it's not wrong. It's just a different way. It's the way I learned, the way I'm so comfortable with. I think it is superior for a lot of ways in terms of actually getting in here and slowly learning to be a pretty competent coder, even if you have no experience. However, you could do it the vibe coding way. So that would mean that instead of figuring it out and changing it yourself, you would treat the AI just like a collaborator. And you could think of yourself as like some old artist, like you're in your 60s and you're like working with a younger artist who's trying to realize your vision, let's say. And so you'd speak to it like that. You'd say, "Hey, pretty good. Please change it to have thicker lines. Also make the rotation faster. Um, let's see. Make it also move around the screen um, to different origins." Okay, cool. And this is more of a vibe coding way of doing it. I'm just gonna ask the computer to do this and see what it comes up with. And so it's a little bit too guess and check for me right now. Um, but again, I'm from a different generation. I grew up and had to learn how to do this manually. So I do encourage you to learn sketching and to kind of, I don't know, we're artists. We got to engage with the world and see what happens. So let's see what we got. All right. Well, thicker lines from the original, and it's indeed moving around. Okay, cool. Vibe coding. So that would be one way. You just keep going back and forth. But there we went, from nothing to something, an algorithm we can play with, and have fun with pretty quickly. Let's just make it a little bit. It adds emojis. You gotta love the time period we live in. Okay, and let's say we want to make it even more kind of faux 3D. Well, we're adding more of this alpha. Maybe we want to change the background. This is how we get started. Okay, great. So the last thing I'll say is, say we want to make some of these shapes 3D because they're already sort of suggesting 3D, and that's where we'll go for this class. I would screenshot it and kind of do that. Whenever you find something cool or make something cool, just take a screenshot and maybe it will serve as inspiration later. But, not too bad. And that's a quick introduction to vibe coding. So thank you so much. We'll continue this and do new things next time. But really appreciated you being here and hope you enjoyed it.